Hey everyone, Eric Grotebaugh, EPGD Attorneys at Law. Question I get a lot is, what is an offer in compromise with the IRS? And people are always like, oh, I can just settle my debts. So let's talk about this for a second. An offer in compromise with the IRS is where you make an offer to pay less than what you fully owe to the IRS. And as a matter of fact, there's a bunch of criteria, and there is a good chance, if you have a good case, that the IRS will accept your offer, but it's got to be a reasonable offer. You can't offer 5 cents on the dollar, 10 cents on the dollar. So this usually comes up in the circumstance where somebody owes a lot to the IRS, like maybe a couple $100,000. And so what we'll do is we'll prepare an application, we'll submit it to the IRS, and we are asking, based on your circumstances, and that's really what it comes down to, we're asking them to accept less than the full amount. And usually your circumstances are going to be based on your income, your assets, your liabilities, and your expenses. And how do we prove that to them? Well, there's a bunch of forms. IRS loves forms, and so we'll be using Form 433. So we use Form 433, we lay out your case, your assets, your expenses, your income, and what we're really looking to do is make an offer that they'll accept. So when we do this form, the IRS, just by the way, they received 54,000 applications last year and only accepted 18,000. So you need to be careful when you hear about these companies that will process your offer in compromise, and what they'll do, and I've actually heard some horror stories, they'll charge you a crazy number like $10,000 flat fee. And by the way, that's a crazy number. Let's just do some simple math. Let's say that I'm billing at $400 an hour. So 10,000 divided by 400, that's 25 hours. I mean, that's almost a work week. And so that's a lot of time. What we're doing is, I'm gonna tell your story, we're gonna demonstrate your inability to pay, and that's what it comes down to. It's your inability to pay. And so I'll show the IRS, and now, mind you, the reason they do these forms is you can't claim to be poor but live in a $5 million house. Right? You might be cash poor because you have a lot of expenses. Your kids are in private school. You belong to a country club and you don't have much cash on hand. You know what the IRS is going to say? Sell the house, quit the country club, move into a smaller house, and actually they've got living standards for every community based on zip code, and they'll tell you what an appropriate amount of expenses that they will allow. So if you're at or near that normal, call it normal expense level, then yeah, we might have a good case. But again, you can't be living the high life and then just claim that you're cash poor. The IRS doesn't have much sympathy for that. Because remember something, the IRS can wait forever. The IRS can wait you out. They'll be around. So they'll wait till you die and take it out of your estate, or they'll wait until they'll put a lien on your house, they'll wait till you sell it someday. They can play the long game, and you're earning interest, or interest is accruing on your debt the entire time. So when you hear someone who's offering to settle your debt, what you're gonna do is you're gonna need to be organized. We're gonna need to get all of your bank accounts, your financial accounts. We're gonna need to get all of the statements to prove your case of your hardship. And hardship is really the main argument that we're gonna have. Now, when the IRS settles, I remember my first boss, he always told me this. He said the IRS will settle for one of two reasons. Doubt as to liability, that means that there's an argument that you could make that maybe you don't owe what you owe. And doubt as to collectability, that means your ability to actually pay. And so doubt as to liability a lot of times won't be a factor because it'll just be you didn't pay your taxes and you should have. I get this all the time. The guy owes a lot of money to the IRS. I say, why do you owe this money to the IRS? He goes, oh, I just didn't pay my taxes for a couple years. Well, in the places of sympathy in my heart, that guy doesn't have very much. Because guess what? I have to pay my taxes every year. You should see the amount that I pay in taxes. I guess as my dad always said, the more you pay in taxes, the more money you must be making, I guess. But anyways, and so these guys are like, well, I just didn't want to pay. I didn't feel like it. Those guys, I don't have much sympathy for them, and the IRS doesn't either. Now, if it's like the question of whether somebody was entitled to a deduction or not, or whether there's something, okay, that's a different situation, right? That's where I might be negotiating with the IRS or negotiating with the examiner or the auditor before we get to collections. But usually when people come to me with the big debt, they're already way past that. They've received the letters in the mail, which by the way, do not ignore letters you get in the mail from the IRS. So they've received the letters, they've ignored them, or they've just done nothing with it, or maybe they've done something and they failed. And so we're way past that. We're in collections. They owe the money, and now it's a question of what can they afford to pay. So we're gonna look at their assets, look at their income, look at their expenses, look at their liabilities. And if you guys have any more questions about this, please reach out. I'm Eric Grotebaugh, EPGD Attorneys at Law, and hopefully we can help you get out of trouble.